It's the Thriller-Minute Argentine again.
Welcome to the Cover Story Podcast. I'm Jack and he's Mac, and we're on a never-ending quest to win you some racks. This is episode 6, and Mac, the bad man is gone. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Nico Harrison is out as GM of the Dallas Mavericks just 9 months after sending the prodigal son Luka Doncic to the Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis and some pieces, although I don't know if Anthony Davis is still alive. He is just simply in pieces. But let's kick off the show there, Mac. What in the world are the Mavericks doing?
Well, I want to first correct you on one part of that. In fact, let me put on my tinfoil hat here.
Wow.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, Nico Harrison had nothing to do with the Luka Doncic trade.
Interesting. Go on.
I've been saying this since day one, and there's a lot of playing parts here, but to give you like a high-level overview, new ownership. The new owners for the Dallas Mavericks that's bought from Mark Cuban, they come from Vegas. They come from the gambling world of Las Vegas. They were looking at a new investment opportunity, and that was the state of Texas. So
The
my
whole
take,
state.
the whole state, and this is specifically for legalizing gambling. So I'm convinced that Nico actually had nothing to do with this. It was actually the owners of the Mavericks, because they've been trying to get gambling legalized in the state of Texas since they took over the Mavs, and the suits in Austin aren't playing ball. And so they decided, you know what? We're going to tank one of your most successful organizations in the state of Texas, and we're going to ship them off and basically completely tank your entire organization of the Dallas Mavericks. We're going to then move them to Vegas. Now, I don't know if they're actually going to be moving to Vegas. I'm convinced they are. I think that's what they're essentially threatening to do. So the suits in Austin can pony up and actually be able to legalize gambling for the state, because they also bought billions or millions or however much it was of land out in, I believe, where the Cowboys Stadium is,
Arlington?
not Frisco, and around Arlington, if I'm not mistaken. Or my Dallas, supporters, they know the details, hold me true there, where exactly it is. But they bought all this land to essentially create a mega casino and have the Mavericks Stadium or arena be attached to it. And now they're owning all this land, not knowing what to do. So let's reverse back to this trade situation. We're also in a time where the Lakers are trying to understand, how do we make our prized possession, the Los Angeles Lakers, a relevant team with LeBron retiring soon. So the owners of the Mavericks got involved and talked to, whether it's commissioner of the NBA or the league itself, and was like, hey, we are going to ship off our best player, our once-in-a-lifetime generational talent. Would you be interested? And what can you do for us? I.e., fast forward to the NBA draft, the Mavericks get the number 1 overall pick. That in itself, I think, is more than enough proof that the league was involved in the trade. And Nico has just been the puppet. Now, is Nico a good GM? I don't know. Look at what he did prior to the Luka trade. Look at the talent he brought in, and look at where we went to. I mean, going to an NBA Finals in itself with the talent that we brought in the last year and a half from that, and it is maybe proof that he may have known what he's doing. Now, look at everything he's done prior to the Mavericks. Yeah, he doesn't have a good track record. But I am 100% convinced that Nico is the pawn. He is the puppet. The owners were involved the entire time. The league was involved the entire time. Luka goes to the Lakers, so now the Lakers have a new face for another 10-plus years, and they can maintain their relevancy. They can keep on to their jersey sales and all of that for international play. And the Mavericks, of course, are going to be given this number 1 pick, Cooper Flagg, which until last night, or I should say until Monday night, looks like it wasn't panning out the way we needed to pan out. Now he's just a rookie. I get it. But my take
19-year-old kid not living up to expectations. Huh?
Yeah, I know. He's got a lot of time. I have a lot of hope for him, but you don't trade away Luka fucking Doncic for anything, okay? And the only reason this happened is, again, because our owners are trying to legalize gambling in the state of Texas. They're holding us hostage, essentially, to make it happen. And the league was right there with it, because they now realized the Lakers can maintain relevancy for the future. So, Nico, I'm sure he had somewhat involvement. It is known him and Luka did not get along. He was not a fan of Luka. A lot of rumors around that. I'm not discounting that whatsoever. But to put 100% sole blame to say he puppeteered the whole thing, he organized the entire trade in itself, I think is bullshit. I think the owners had majority of control over that. I think they initiated. They essentially told Nico, you're going to be our fall guy. And they waited until our slow start to the season to now say, now we can dump you off. Will this truth ever be revealed? Probably not. It's probably going to go in the grave. But that is my take. That is my strong opinion. I will die on this hill for the rest of my life. Fuck the Mavs owners. And yeah, I mean, it's maybe it's just something in the water, right? We trade Luka, then we trade Mika. I don't know, but I'm very passionate about this. It drives me crazy,
Clearly, dude. Go off.
But Nico, I think you're innocent, man. I don't think you're a good GM, but I don't think you are the sole reason why we made that trade and where we are today. So that's my tinfoil tangent right there.
Well, a lot to unpack with that. Basically, all I'm taking is there was a second shooter on the grassy knoll in Dallas once again, and it was not Nico Harrison. He is out, and we got to get gambling in Texas because I was just there this past weekend and had to put in all of my bets before I took off on Saturday morning, and I got to miss out on some good plays. But while you have your tinfoil hat on here, I did miss out on a couple of our one unit plays from Sunday and Monday nights, which I think you're onto another conspiracy. So before we get to the full recap, hit me again. What's going on in the NFL?
Yeah, no, tinfoil is coming back on here because we had a situation where our one unit prop parlays for Sunday night and Monday night both missed because of one player getting injured. Now, if you're familiar with these legal books, if a player goes out in the first half, typically they waive that particular bet. And if you hit everything else, you win out right there. What we're starting to see, though, is a pattern where players, and if I'm not mistaken, let's just say, for example, last night's game, Romeo Doubs. He's been injured. I don't know if he was questionable going into the game, but I know he's been battling an injury. And if you watched this game last night, he looked a bit out of sorts in the first two quarters. So we had a situation where him and then the tight end for the Chargers, I can't remember how Gadsden, where both these players so happened to be injured in the game or got injured in the game, but they ended up playing one snap or one drive in the third quarter and then were pulled. I'm convinced because now we've seen two props, heavy money lines, by the way, would have paid out beautifully, are now lost because of these two players are getting pulled in the third. So I'm now convinced that someone is involved in the sports betting world to where they're telling these coaches, hey, yes, your guy's injured. We just assessed him at halftime. He has to play one down, and then you can pull him. Because the fact that we saw it not once, but back-to-back primetime games in the NFL, someone is pulling strings here and preventing bets from being hit simply because they know there's too much money being lost in Vegas. And we also know the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, owns 10% of ESPN, which has its own legal gambling platform, which also that's about to be pulled. There's just a lot of moving parts here that I'm convinced is essentially now manipulating plays, props, outcomes, simply because we're hitting our stride and we're starting to see the lines and we're reading the tea leaves. And God forbid the common man gets a little paycheck because they know how to call a game for once. So whatever needs to be done, whatever needs to be fixed, fix it. Because as of now, if there is any person that is questionable, that is battling an injury, I will not be putting them in the prop because it's now been one too many times where they are going in, playing in the first half, and then miraculously getting pulled at the beginning of the third. So something to keep note of, something to look out of. I think it's sus. Something's up, and I'm not for it.
So there you have it. The FBI needs to start looking into injuries and connections to sports books. They nailed the baseball players, so it's now time to put their sights on the NFL. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you talked about hitting our stride. That segues perfectly into a quick rapid recap here. We can touch on college football, 3-1 on the weekend on the picks on the show. Texas Tech, convincing win over BYU, 29-7. Told them they would cover. Bingo, bango. Texas A&M dominated Mizzou. I hope that no one suffered through watching that game because, boy, we are pathetic. 38-17 was your final there, so A&M clearly covering that 6.5-point spread. Also told you to take Wake Forest outright against Virginia. That was my sneaky upset spot of the week. They not only covered, they also won outright, like I just said, 16-9. So that one causes a lot of turmoil in the ACC, which I will get to later on in the show. We also had Oregon to cover. They barely snuck away with a win in Iowa, 18-6, last second field goal. Gross weather, gross game. That was Big Ten football. I told you it was going to be a low-scoring affair there. Told you to take the under. Told you it was going to be a 3 yards in a cloud of dust scenario. But Oregon failed to cover there. So 3-1 in college football on the slate. Mac, what happened in the international football world real quick?
Yeah, so let's just say basically we had everything riding on Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, and they both decided to sell. So Bayern Munich's been on a incredible win streak. They go over to Berlin and can barely squeak out a point in the dying minutes. Now, I will say, for those that follow our exclusives or are part of this DraftKings social group, you would have noticed and you would have seen that I had essentially laid the house on Bayern Munich double chance win or draw at the dying minutes of that game to cover our losses, in which they did. So that was a big hit to basically make all of our money back and some profit on that as well. But Real Madrid coming away with just 1 point was also pretty pathetic. So our big 2-1s on Saturday unfortunately didn't work out in our favor. And then I'm sorry, that Bayern was Saturday, Real Madrid was Sunday for our Super Spanish Sunday parlay. Barca came correct. Real Betis came correct, so Real Madrid sold on that one. So not a good weekend there for footy. We did, however, make up for it on Monday for our for those that follow us on our social group and exclusives. But other than that, nothing to really touch on for footy this coming week, or 2 weeks, I should say, because it is an international break. For any European football fan, especially Premier League fan, this is kind of the weekend we always dread because it's all international play. And not only that, we're already coming to the end of World Cup qualifiers. So there's only 2 games left, especially for the European qualifiers. A lot of these big countries have already qualified. I will be making some bets. Be on the lookout for those in our socials. It's going to be most likely fringe countries looking to get in that last slot of qualification. Other than that, though, not a lot of juice, not a lot of excitement there. So if you are looking to tail some footy this weekend, be on the socials, check out what we go picking for there.
Love it. So it's basically the dog days of June and July baseball is what I'm hearing in the international football world right now.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Pretty much.
Okay, well, be on the lookout for those picks. Touching on the primetime matchups and some of the key games from the NFL this past weekend. Thursday night game, gross. Broncos are frauds, 10-7 win. That was just an ugly, ugly game to watch against the Raiders. Over in Berlin, Colts missed the cover by a half-point hook in overtime. 31-25 win there. The highlight of probably the weekend in the NFL is Jonathan Taylor. He is insane. In that game alone, 32 carries, 244 yards. He had a longest run of 83 yards. I believe that's the longest in the NFL so far this year. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground, 3 catches for 42 yards to boot. So it's 286 total yards, 3 touchdowns, the game-winning TD in overtime. He's been unbelievable. I'll just give you quickly his season stats. I know a lot of people have been talking about MVP, kind of some fresh blood this year between Drake May, Jonathan Taylor, maybe Matt Stafford back in the mix, old man Stafford turning back the clock. But Jonathan Taylor so far on the year, 10 games, he has 1,139 rushing yards, 15 TDs on the ground. Also has 30 receptions on 32 targets, so he's efficient when he gets the ball in the air. For 260 yards. He also has 2 touchdowns there. And he has scored in bunches this year. He's got 4 games already this season with 3 rushing touchdowns. And he has another game with a 2 rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown performance. So 17 total touchdowns. He's got 15 of them in 5 games, which is insane to think about. But he's been phenomenal. Colts improved to 8-2, stay atop the AFC. Steelers and Chargers Sunday Night Football, I should say. Chargers take the win 25-10. Monday Night Football, that game was horrible. Eagles survive 10-7, a wacky finish. I was on the plane, so I didn't get to watch any of this. Mac, you endured this game. Any quick thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it was 0-0 going into halftime, right?
Gross.
And so it's just, yeah, it was abysmal. We did, though, however, hit our 1 unit because the Eagles came out with a win and Saquon hit his rushing attempts that we bet on. So 1 unit came out on top, as I mentioned. Or I'm sorry, 2 unit came out on top, as I mentioned. Our 1 unit missed because of collusion and the NFL being rigged. But yeah, not a fun game. The last 2, the fact that Sunday and Monday night were just boring was it's just not a fun way to cap off an NFL weekend. But we came out with some profit, luckily.
Yeah. And if you listen to the show, we gave out all 4 of those winners outright at the beginning of the week. Unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills decided to sell our all-day parlay.
Yeah.
Had the Colts in the morning game, Bills in the afternoon, Lions in the early evening, and then the Chargers. So Colts lose 30-13 to the Dolphins, which is gross. But the Ravens train continues to roll. Stop number 2 just barreled on through. That's a 27-19 win over the Vikings. And that one was going to be our kind of like iffy game in this stretch.
Yeah.
And so if you started with 1 unit, right now you should be rolling over about 2.7 ish in units there. I personally started with 2 units, so I'm sitting right now at 5.3 in the bank just on this Ravens train. So that's something to look forward to. Before we get to this weekend's NFL slate, though, we always got to start with the amateurs, quote unquote amateurs. That is the college football ranks, and we're going to start in Pittsburgh this weekend. In a top 25 matchup, number 10 Notre Dame, 11.5 point favorites on the road against number 24 Pitt, over under 55.5. And I should say some of these rankings may change. We're recording this Tuesday afternoon. I am headed to the Bruins game tonight, so I have a Bruins hat on, and I will be at the Patriots game on Thursday. So a big Boston sports week for your kid. But if these rankings change, that is why. Notre Dame looking to win by 12 points against Pitt. I'm going to take the Irish just because they're rolling, and I really don't have a lot of faith in this Pitt team. Jeremiah Love, his Heisman campaign is sneaky back on. I think he's kind of been below the radar behind some of these quarterbacks on some of the breakout teams, i.e. Mendoza there in Indiana. But I alluded to this ACC conundrum earlier in the show with Virginia. And I'm going to put something on the map here that I think people are talking about. I have heard a couple rumblings here over the weekend with a couple friends of mine. So I don't know if you know this, Mac, but the ACC may not get a single team in the college football playoff. And there's a very legitimate chance of that happening.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So the recipe is Duke making it to the ACC championship game and then winning. And they have right now 4 losses on the year, only 1 in the conference. And so if they make it to the ACC championship game and win, the way that auto bids work with this new setup is the 5 best conference champions, the 5 highest ranked conference champions throughout the country. So that does not necessarily mean a Power 5 team automatically gets in. So we could see 2 group of 5 teams, maybe JMU, who I will touch on here in a minute, maybe JMU, maybe a USF, someone from the American sneaking in there, ranked maybe 22nd, 23rd, and then you could have Duke coming up behind. So that's a real possibility, something to keep an eye out for. And that Virginia-Duke game this weekend with the Blue Devils favored by 6.5 points at home is going to be big.
Yeah, that's going to be massive. No, I mean, it's one of those things where we're looking at, obviously not the most exciting and sexy conferences, but a lot at stake. So a lot of weight and a lot of reason to be following and watching that. But of course, we got to be going to the big dogs of this college football weekend, and that's going to take us to the SEC, where we see number 12, Oklahoma, is going against number 4, Alabama at -6, with the over-under being 45.5. And this is interesting because we were talking about this Bama team in the last episode, and we even were saying this LSU squad, new coach, could be a little funky. They put up a fight, and Bama didn't roll over on this one. Oklahoma hasn't been the most, I would say, convincing team in the SEC this year, but this could be a pretty close one. I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think this one's obviously a bigger matchup for Oklahoma than it is Alabama, if you can believe that, because Alabama, they're still undefeated in the SEC. If they win this game, it all but seals their spot to go to the SEC championship game, but they do have that touch of wiggle room in the last couple weeks here. But obviously a do or die game for Oklahoma. If they lose, that pretty much means they're out. We'll talk about another big matchup with the loser going home sad in a second here. But yeah, I think Alabama, they've rattled off 8 wins in a row now. They've beaten 4 ranked teams, ranked at the time, I should say. They have Eastern Illinois and Auburn left on the schedule. Obviously, you can't count out the Iron Bowl. It's at Auburn as well, and Lord knows what goes on at that stadium at night. So that one's not one to be overlooked. But I think Ty Simpson, just talked about, Jeremiah Love's Heisman campaign. Ty Simpson's been the guy that probably no one really has wanted to talk about. And Bama's flown under the radar here, ripping off 8 wins in a row. So I think I like Alabama to take the 6 points too. I think they can win by a score. I think they will remain undefeated in conference play, and then they can just kind of punch their ticket to Atlanta. I think having Eastern Illinois next week as the kind of, sleepy game. I don't think they're going to overlook Oklahoma here. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to have them ready to go. And I think Oklahoma just won't have enough firepower. That offense with John Mateer has started to ratchet up a little bit. But I think Ty Simpson and Alabama are just going to be too much.
Yeah. All right. So we're thinking Bama to cover the -6 spread, which then I think is a good segue into our another big SEC matchup, because we have number 11 Texas. Somehow they are now back in the mix, but they're going up against number 5 Georgia, where Georgia's favored by 6 points and the over-under being 48.5. I mean, this is an SEC championship elimination game, right? Both already with a 1 conference loss. Both teams are going to be rooting for OU in the other game. And it's tough. I mean, Georgia, there's a reason why they're top 5 in the country at this point, right? Now, they've had some signs of struggle, but Texas has somehow crawled their way back into relevancy. I mean, we were looking at within the first half of the season, we thought Texas wasn't even going to be in contention for not only an SEC championship game, but, God forbid, the playoffs in itself. But here we are, right? They're now on the cusp. So what are your thoughts here? I mean, is there a world where Arch Manning could actually be coming into Georgia and making a statement, or is this going to be a bit of a cakewalk for Georgia?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. So I do think Texas is going to have this be a close game. Now, I also don't think Arch has a chance of winning this game, but that's a different story. Yeah, I mean, Texas, very, very slow start to the year. The Ohio State loss, I mean, what are you going to do? Arch's first start against the best team in the country, really hard to win that game. And then the loss early to Florida and the offense just sputtering. Everyone thought this team was finished, but they've rattled off a few good wins here down the stretch. You touched on Georgia not being super strong. Their defense has been pretty shaky, which is uncharacteristic for the Bulldogs under Kirby Smart. But I think Kirby's really going to be disguising pressures. He's going to be giving Arch different looks at the line of scrimmage pre-snap. And I think it's going to be Georgia to cover and the under 48.5. I think this one's going to be a low scoring affair. I think Georgia's going to be methodical on offense, lean on Grant Delp, the tight end, for those kind of intermediate throws, and then really work the running game and make sure Gunnar Stockton kind of just controls this game, keeps the ball out of Texas's hands. And then, like I just said, when they do have the ball, the Longhorns, that is, it's going to be lots of misdirection, lots of disguise from Kirby Smart and the defensive side of things for the Bulldogs this weekend. So I am going to take Georgia to win, and I will have them cover the 6, and I do like the under in this game as well. Never love rooting for unders, but 48.5, I don't see 7 touchdowns happening in this game.
Yeah. No, I mean, fair enough. So I think for our SEC picks here, we're looking at, for Oklahoma and Alabama, we're going to be looking at Bama covering the -6 spread. We're going to be looking at the over for that game, or were you looking under?
I would lean over. Yes.
Yeah, lean over.
I don't have a strong preference either way, but if I had to, I would lean to the over, but I do like the 6 points. So yeah, I'll take both top 5 teams at home to cover a touchdown.
Yeah, maybe that's the play then. So we would look at Bama and Georgia covering the -6 spread each, and potentially the under for that Texas-Georgia game, maybe the over for Oklahoma, Alabama, but we don't want to force anything. Maybe we just leave that one out.
Yep. We tend to go one leg too many. So maybe, and I imagine, I don't pretend to work at DraftKings, but I think there's probably going to be a boost given out to either of these games. If not, you do the little double combo deal. So be on the lookout Saturday morning for that. And a game that I'm going to target, and probably no one is going to watch this game, but Appalachian State at James Madison University. The Dukes are 21-point favorites.
Where are you getting these games?
Dude, you know me. I am just deep in the trenches.
Appalachian State at JMU. All right, let's hear it. Okay.
Yep. We are going to take the James Madison Dukes to cover the big number. And this is Bob Chesney's job interview for the rest of the season. This team might be one of the 2 group of 5 teams that make the college football playoff. They are 9-1 or 8-1 already this year, 6-0 in the Sun Belt. They won 9 games last year. They won their bowl game too, the Boca Raton Bowl. So, hey, party down in Florida for those of you that were in Virginia, making their way down to the trip. But Bob Chesney, head coach of James Madison, it's been there for 2 years now. He has this just winning mentality that he's brought to every program he's been at. Started at Salve Regina. Now, I know you've only been on the East Coast for a little bit of time, but that is a very small school down in Rhode Island. It's in Newport, like right on the cliffs. It's basically just like a...
Never heard of it.
Exactly. That team was complete garbage, gets them to 9-2, and they won their league 3 years into his tenure there. He then goes to Assumption, another very small school.
That's the school. The school is called Assumption.
You are correct. Yes.
Gotta love New England.
Yeah. So he gets them to 11 wins twice, 2 league titles. He lost in the quarterfinals of the D2 playoffs. And then in 2018, he went to Holy Cross, another wonderful New England school. He revived that program. They won the Patriot League 5 years in a row. I believe they shared a Patriot League title his final season there. And then, made it into, I believe, the second round and quarterfinals of the D1 playoffs. So that guy's a winner. And we've talked about the plethora of job openings in college football that are going to be starting the coaching carousel relatively soon. Bob Chesney is a guy that is going to be taking a big time job in this offseason. So he is going to use the JMU Dukes platform to continue to blow teams out. And I love the 21 number.
If this guy ends up coaching at a major program, I would love for whoever's in charge of his PR to actually update his LinkedIn profile to where it shows his tenure for every school he's been at. Because I think if you were just to see it starting at Salve Regina, then Assumption, Salve Regina, is it Regina or Regina?
Regina, Salve Regina.
Okay. Well, there's a city in Saskatoon in Canada spelled the same way, but it's pronounced Regina.
You are
so
correct.
had to confirm there. To then go to Assumption, to then go to Holy Cross. Now, JM, I mean, what a trajectory, what a path this guy has taken. So just with that story alone, I'm all for this. Who cares if it's -21? This guy's got a movie in the making right now. The script is currently being written, and I'm going to be all for that. So just on an emotional standpoint, I will ride that fully because that's a great story in itself. What a fun pick. What a nice little sneaky way to end the college football picks right there on the weekend of all the games to talk about. That is just fun.
That's what you get when you come to the cover story, baby. We got everything across the nation for you. But that brings us to the big boys.
Yep.
The guys that get paid, even though everyone gets paid nowadays, that would be Thursday Night Football. Tonight, if you're listening on Thursday, the lowly New York Jets coming off a big victory over the Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots in Foxboro. The Kings of the AFC are back. Minus 12.5 in favor of the Pats, over under 43.5. If you saw this past weekend, the Pats parlay I put together hit. Mac and I told you to be on the lookout for a Patriot money line on last week's episode. We decided let's add some props. Drake May, Baker slinging it. We always love tight ends. So Mac was like, hey, Kate Otten, he'll get 3, no problem. Pretty sure he had it in the first half. But Drake May and Travion Henderson coming out party for him. 2 touchdowns over 50 yards. They go down to the Bucks and win. So that was a big win. I'm going to be at this game. Obviously, I'm going to be taking the Pats. We will have a nice special Thursday slate for you. Mac, I'm going to be relying on you for the live drive plays because I think I'm going to be too locked in at the stadium, and I doubt the internet there is going to be working very well. Now, I do have one caveat here, and I know you like data. I know you like, your jinxes and everything.
Yep.
So I'm just going to go ahead and get this out there in the open so I don't hear about it later and say that I was the reason that things go awry if they do. I will be attending this game with the same group of gentlemen that I was with at the Mizzou Vanderbilt game. So
all right.
shout
Well,
out to my dad and our good friend Johnny V. But the same trio is headed to Foxboro tonight to try to get that record to 1-1 on the season together for football games. So I just need that out there right now for you so I don't hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, here the one way we're in the clear is you don't post on the story before kickoff. It was always the Pats to cover, or always the Pats to win, or always insert prop that we're going to bet on. So you don't do that. We're in the clear. No jinxes. We're safe. But I'm obviously rooting for you, and I will say it's a great group of guys to be going to the game with, and it's going to be a blast regardless. But let's just make it that much more fun of a night. Let's cook up something just filthy to be watching live. And who knows? Maybe like with live betting, you might even have an upper hand because you're seeing it right then and there versus delayed on a stream. So I might have to lean in on you of like hey, who's potentially looking to get a catch here and there. But that'll be something we cover Thursday night as it's happening.
Yeah, I'll do my best to keep you informed. We are doing a test run this evening too. This evening being Tuesday night, because the 3 of us and my mother are going to the Bruins game. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I don't even need to worry about it. But yeah, we're putting everything to the test here. No jinxes. We'll be taking over the socials though for the game on Thursday night. So be prepared to see some shots of Foxboro.
Love it.
But we will get to that later. We will have our special Thursday night slate as always. Now, we do have another morning game this weekend. On Sunday morning, we are in España, and we will be in Madrid for Commanders at Dolphins. Minus 2.5 in favor of the Finns, coming off their big win against Buffalo. Over under at 47.5. And to be honest, sleep in. Enjoy a nice quiet morning. If you want to take part in this one, we can all just order Hawaiian pizza and watch the 2 Hawaiian quarterbacks go at it and hate ourselves while we do it. But Dolphins, I guess, I don't know. That's all I have for this game.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Dolphins winning by a field goal. I guess it's a gross game. I don't want anything. I want nothing to do with it. It would just be so classic of the Dolphins to go and beat the Bills, stomp on the Bills, and then lose to the Commanders. So couldn't tell you what I'm leaning on. I'm 95% sure I'm not betting on it at all. If I am going to, maybe I do an Achane touchdown. He's been electric. So, maybe we throw that in there or something. But other than that, I just, nothing.
I don't even know if you can do this, but what I might have to do is figure out if you can bet tie, because we're in Europe, Spanish soccer stadium. We love a good draw.
And
maybe that's what we do.
That could be the play. I'm assuming they're playing at the Bernabeu. If they're in Madrid, it would have to be that stadium. And although Real Madrid drew away this last weekend, the juju's still there. So I would not put it past it. If that could actually be a fun thing to bet on. So be on the lookout. We might get a little spicy. We might actually bet on a tie in the NFL here at the Cover Story. So will we actually go that crazy? Who knows? Stay tuned.
Who knows? Now games that we do want to watch, though. There is actually quite a good slate of games this weekend. We'll touch on some of the other ones after our primetime run, per usual. But Sunday night, Lions at Eagles. The Birds getting 2.5 points. They are favored by 2.5. I should say over under 46.5. I didn't get to watch either of these performances from these two teams. I know the Lions were just dog walking their way through the Commanders. And then the Eagles, as we touched on, gross game Monday night. Mac, you got to obviously endure that Monday night game, and you saw that Lions game. What are your leans here? What are you feeling out of this Sunday night matchup?
I'm glad you asked, Jack, because when they first released the line for this game, and I saw that the Eagles are actually favored, I felt like I was an 8-year-old on a Christmas morning about to wake up my parents to go open up some presents, because when I see the Lions being unfavored, I am going to bet the house on Lions money line here, right? I'm going to put everything into this because watching the Eagles on Monday night was atrocious. Now, their defense, I will say, is looking back. But that Detroit Lions offense, I mean, Josh Jacobs even was having some really good runs, some really good receptions on that. Imagine the Lions now pulling up to the park, because Gibbs and even David Montgomery, but I think Gibbs is going to be a game changer in this game. I think they're going to figure out schemes to go around that Eagles defense. I'm full bull on Lions winning this game. So I'm excited for this. It's going to be it may be another kind of low scoring affair. I don't think it's going to be a tit for tat, but I'm all in on Lions for Sunday Night Football.
I love that. I too saw this and maybe thought, okay, it's Eagles at home, so they'll get the 3. So maybe it's actually Lions at a pick'em. But yeah, I think I love the Lions in this spot. But the link on Sunday night, who knows? Keep an eye on the weather for this, because we got some squirrely snow coming around. I had no idea it was going to snow in that Bears Giants game. So let's be cued in on that one. Could be a ground and pound game depending on the weather. But
I might even live stream that game, and just because I think there's going to be a lot of live bet and live drive bet opportunity in that one. So be on the lookout for that. We might make an announcement over the weekend if we will be live streaming. I know that's something a lot of people were requesting. We are showing that we're hitting a lot of live drive bets. So if the people ask for it, we will deliver. So be on the lookout for that, because if we're obviously hitting live drive bets, we want all of you all to be hitting live drive bets with us.
We love that. The Cover crew loves that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, final primetime game Monday night. Cowboys -3.5 at Raiders, over under 50.5. Cue the Jesse Pinkman meme. They can't keep getting away with this. Why on earth am I being forced to watch this game on Monday? I'd rather pluck my eyeballs out and stick them in my ears, because ew, gross. I suffered through Cowboys Cardinals. I suffered through Broncos Raiders. Why on earth do we now have to meld it together and Frankenstein this disgusting football game? Cowboys -3.5, I guess. Blech.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, yeah, I'd love to say and sit here with confidence Cowboys going to cover that easily, but I said and sat here with confidence the same thing against Cardinals last week, and could not have been more wrong. And it's just classic Cowboys fashion, where we have glimpse of hope and we look like we have one of the most dominant offenses in the league, and then Dak Prescott and co decide to just go to sleep. Another coin toss. I have to agree, it's a gross game, but as an obnoxious and oblivious Cowboys fan, I will be rooting and betting on my Cowboys to at least cover that spread. Who knows? Maybe that's it's one of the random nights where things just start clicking and Dak decides that he wants to be an MVP caliber just 1 week of the season. So I will go with -3.5 there. Under, probably though, most realistically, is what's going to happen, especially being at 50.5. Even though both defenses are atrocious, that's just, it's too many points. So, Cowboys spread and under would probably be my two picks. But yeah, there might be some potential props. You'll be seeing, of course, a prop parlay for us every Monday night as per tradition. But be on the lookout for those.
Yeah, that game is gross. I hope I enjoyed so much football. I'm like, maybe I'll take a night off. I won't, obviously. But yeah, so that wraps up the primetime slate. We do have some other key games to look out for. Obviously, we will be targeting the Ravens once again this week. They are currently 7.5-point favorites at the Browns in Cleveland. So the Ravens train will keep on chugging. Stay tuned on the socials for what we decide to take on that game. We've been teasing lines a little bit just to ensure that we're getting the price we like at the number we like. So obviously, the money lines for these games have been astronomical. I would imagine this one will be, north of 400 as well, probably. So we're looking to dial in where we like that line. So stay tuned for that. But you can bet that we will be on the Ravens once again.
Oh, yeah.
Then we get to some games that we are actually pretty excited to look at throughout the afternoon and mid-afternoon slates.
Yeah.
We'll start in the Who's for Real game. This is I feel like they should be good, but they haven't looked good game. That is the Kansas City Chiefs -3.5 coming off the bye against the Broncos, who have the mini bye with the Thursday night game this week. Over under 43.5. Chiefs 3.5-point road favorites. They're, obviously jockeying for position in the AFC West. I think the Chiefs need this game, and I trust the Chiefs offense more than I trust the Broncos defense, strength versus strength, if that makes sense. Because the Broncos offense is awful, and I've had enough of watching that. But the defense is very good.
Yep. And that's all for me. That's all it comes down to. I think the Denver Broncos are the biggest frauds in the NFL. That their record is a complete fabrication of what they actually are when it comes to roster talent. I mean, sure, their defense has carried the majority of, if not all of the season, but Bo Nix is not him. He thinks he's him, and he's not even remotely close to being him. That receiving core are not them. The amount of drop passes catches I saw in that last game was boiling my blood. And this entire organization, I think, has been scamming all of us from day one, and they're just throwing out their record and make them look like they're a top team. They're not. I think Chiefs are going to come in and absolutely destroy them. I think they're going to steamroll them. I think this offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders. That defense is going to be in shambles. I think Chiefs win by at least 2 touchdowns, if not more, because the Broncos team is an absolute joke. They are scam artists. They deserve to be in prison, and the Chiefs are going to be dominating. I'm going to be buying points on this. I might even buy more than a touchdown on this because the Broncos have been scamming us from day one. I'm all in on Chiefs. That's my hot pick for that game.
That's a very hot pick. 2 touchdown win. You're moving the line by 11 points. I love that.
I mean, I may not do 2 touchdowns. Might be a bit aggressive. I would be happy to bet Chiefs plus or -7. In fact, if not 7.5, maybe even 9.5. I think they can win by a touchdown and a field goal. No question.
Well, I'm going to do some magic here and try to figure out what those numbers could be for you. In the meantime, why don't you take us to the West Coast? Battle of the NFC West. Both teams sitting at 7-2. That is the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Home team Rams -2.5-point favorites, over under 48.5. This one's going to be awesome. I will say that before you take it away.
Yeah, no, this is I like to call this game the, hey, look at us. Look at us, huh? Who would have thought going into this week that the Seahawks and Rams would be sitting at both 7-2? And quite frankly, after watching that Rams game this last weekend, they look like they could be a Super Bowl contending team.
Definitely.
Old man Stafford is winding back the clock, and he is slaying it right now. And although I barely missed my Puka yards prop on that game, I don't fault for that. But I had a very, very profitable afternoon, specifically just on that game, because I did a live drive touchdown bet for their second, if not third string tight end, Allen, to score on that drive. Got it at plus 2,200, if not plus 2,000. So you do the math on that one. that turned my entire weekend around immensely.
Shout out Davis Allen.
Davis Allen.
Can't imagine there's too many podcasts around the country talking about Davis Allen this week, but shout out Davis Allen.
We, drive kicked off. I was looking at the tea leaves, and it just felt right. So we locked it in, and lo and behold, what do you know? Right on the goal line, there he was, wide open in the corner. We love that. So just for that fact, I love the Rams. I'm a big fan of that. This is a toss-up, though. I mean, the Seahawks defense have looked incredible, but the Rams offense look like they're unstoppable. I think it's going to be an absolute battle. So that in itself is just a fan. It's going to be exciting to watch. If I had to pick one, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd rather go with props and the over instead of picking an outright winner. But if you need to have an answer, I think Rams cover. I think Sean McVay is as we know, a great coach. I think he's going to know how to get around that Seahawks defense. And so I do think if we had to choose one, I think the Rams can win this one. So if I had to pick a winner personally, I'm probably just going to be looking at some really fun offensive props and the over in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big believer in the Seahawks all year long. It made me very profitable on a number of occasions. I love JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, but I think I'm with you. I like the Rams in this spot. Seattle, I think it's going to be tough for them to handle the defensive front of the Rams. That's obviously their strong point on defense. A lot of great pass rushers, guys that cause havoc up front. And Seattle, they're always trying to lean on the run game, get the play action. That's where Darnold excels. Finding JSN, he's got Shaheed now, so maybe he can take it over the top.
Yeah.
I just think the front of the Rams is going to be a difference maker in this. Both offenses obviously very good, but I think the front's going to cause some issues, and they're not going to be able to be in their typical game script of, run, play action, maybe a quick screen. I think they're going to be pretty disruptive up front. So I will take the Rams to cover there. The Chiefs, though, I know you were looking at some numbers. I will go back to this game very quickly.
Yeah.
If you want to take the Chiefs at minus 9.5, that number is plus 190. And if you want it to be very spicy, you could get the Chiefs minus 13.5. So 2 scores, winning by 2 touchdowns, plus 287.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah,
well,
food for thought there. Food for thought.
I'm gonna be sitting on that and stewing for a few days here leading up to Sunday, because I'm already saying with confidence that 9.5 is just got my name written all over it. But oh my God, we love a good juicy buy up to get to plus 200 plus. So I don't know. That could be the move. We'll see.
Yeah, stay tuned for that one. Could be some special plays coming on the socials for that Chiefs-Broncos game. Another one to pay attention to in the afternoon, Bucks at Bills, both of these teams coming off losses. I don't know what's going on in Orchard Park, but Buffalo needs to right the ship, and they need to right it fast if they want to try to keep pace with the Pats. But we do have a couple, parlays to end the day here with. We always love to do a nice little money line parlay for you. So we're targeting 3 teams in the 1:00 slate. We might even, dip on that 4:00, but we've touched on some of the games there. Chiefs, that Seahawks Rams game's at 4:00. I believe you got the Cardinals and the 49ers in that spot as well. So maybe we'll see some action there. Nothing really love, but 1:00, we do love this trio of teams. It's going to be plus 400 on the money line for these 3 winners. As the Bears over the Vikings, the Chargers over the Jaguars, and the Packers over the Giants. No Jackson Dart for the Giants. Brian Daboll out. I don't trust Russell Wilson.
Nope.
We saw the Chargers handle business against the Steelers on Sunday night.
Yep.
And we saw the Bears show a lot of resilience coming back and winning that game against the Giants. And so I like all 3 of those spots.
Yeah, Chargers and Packers seem like a no-brainer. If there is one that could potentially sell, it's probably the Bears, but they're winning, right? I mean, it's not the in sexiest fashions, and they're not just running away with anything, but they're getting it done. So this is a divisional game. It's going to be very competitive, in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, too. Correct?
That is correct.
So,
Yep.
so
In the
that,
dome.
it's going to be tough, but they're getting it done. Ben Johnson, I think, is going to be cooking something up for that game, and I love it. So I'm all for that, especially at plus 400. God, we love a good 3-team parlay to be at that high. So Bears over Vikings, Chargers over Jaguars, Packers over Giants, 3-team parlay plus 400. We love that all day.
That we do. And we opted for the Bills over the Bears last weekend, and that cost us. So, I'm going to say, hey, let's take a peek at them. Take a peek at them.
Yeah.
But that about does it for episode 6. Pay attention tonight. If you're listening on Thursday, we have a load of picks coming your way for this Patriots-Jets game. I will be there this evening. Mac, any final words for the listeners ahead of another week and another opportunity to win some racks?
Let's make it happen. I think we're starting it. We're starting to hit a groove here, so we want to continue that momentum and make sure you all are profiting as well. So be on the lookout for all of our picks. Be on the lookout of all of our takes. We're going to try to create some more entertainment. Some more reels are going to be coming in. Some more TikToks are going to be coming in. So follow us on all the socials. We are trying to make this as fun as possible for all of you. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, you name it. We love you all. And looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, sir. That wraps it up for this chapter of the cover story. As always, tail responsibly, fade if you dare.